Hello class, I am back fixing our camera here. I'm going to be talking to you today about Chapter 5. I'm excited to talk to you about this. I wish I was doing it in person, but this is such an important chapter. I alluded to it a little bit earlier, and let me pull ourselves down here so you can see the blackboard in a minute. This is on page 77 of your book, Selecting a Topic and a Purpose, Chapter 5. We're going to be going over choosing a topic, determining the general purpose, determining the specific purpose, and then phrasing your essential idea. Now, I told you before, we're going to call it a couple different things. There's the key statement, there's your objective statement, the central idea, the central theme. Different places call it different things, so I'm not as concerned about what you call it as long as you do it. So, you may, when you listened in Chapter 4, you heard me talk about, right, you have to focus, develop your topic, and focus your topic, right? There's a 1-2. Well, we're going to talk about what happens before the 1 now, okay? We really need to brainstorm. Now, brainstorming, there's one thing that's key that I always recommend in brainstorming, and that's making sure that you don't censor ideas. When you brainstorm, okay, you really need to just list whatever comes to your mind. Sometimes it's not what you write down, but the mere act of writing something down clears your mind and allows you the space to actually think of that new and creative idea that you do need, okay? So what I want you to do is I want you to just push pause right now, okay? I want you to pause, and well, before you hit pause, I want you to take 30 seconds, even a minute if you need it, and brainstorm any topics that come in your head, okay? They don't have to relate to each other. I just want you to brainstorm. So go ahead and do that now. Hit pause. Okay, so now that you're back, hopefully you have a list on your paper of a bunch of different topics, okay? In the book, it talks about some general topics. It lists interning at a crime lab, the basics of backpacking, performing with the Native American dance troupe, and how to have a successful job interview. So a wide variety of topics there, right? So there's a couple of different things that we can do. So as you have that hopefully extensive list in front of you, there should be at least 10 things on that list. So if you don't have at least 10, hit pause again and do that some more. But what you want to do in this brainstorm is we're going to group them in different ways, okay? So if you look on page 80, you can see the idea of taking a personal inventory. So of course it's easiest just to write down things that are important to you, that you come across in your life. So it may be about your hometown, it may be sports that you like, interests that you have, people that you know, right? Whatever it is, take that personal inventory. And then what you can do is cluster those topics. So as you see here on page 80, they've taken different, they've taken different topics here, and then they put them in a cluster. So people, places, concepts, ideas, and you can see these groups, and on your paper you can even circle those different things that seem to go along together. Do you notice a theme in the topics that you've written down? If so, bunch those together, much like we did when we went over on Thursday when we talked about the ineffective and effective characteristics of public speaking, or the similarities between conversation and public speaking, right? And then I grouped those into 3 categories for you, right? Remember we talked about public speaking is more formal, the delivery, those sort of things. So can you group them into similar categories? Worst case scenario, you can do an internet search, right? But first what you want to do is determine the general purpose. And I like to use this kind of method when looking at what we're going to be talking about here. And it's this funnel. And we're starting out big and broad, right? So you're going to start out big, and you know your brainstorming ideas are going to be up here. And we're going to refine it down to that central theme or that key statement, right? As we get to here, and then we're going to develop to eventually get to our conclusion, here, our concluding statement. But as we start out, first we need to determine the general purpose. And the general purpose is something that I've already helped you with, because your first speech is going to be informative, your second speech is persuasive, but that general purpose is to inform. or to persuade, okay? So if you look on page 83, you can see that obviously the general purpose is the broad goal of a speech. So on 83, they use the topic of music therapy. What is your general purpose? To inform, okay? Plain as that, very simple. To get to the specific purpose, the book defines that as a single infinitive phrase that states precisely what a speaker hopes to accomplish with his or her speech. So it's almost like you would put on the top of your resume, right? What is that objective statement? What is that key statement? So it goes on to say here that for music therapy, our general purpose is to inform. The specific purpose is to inform my audience about the benefits of music therapy for people with psychological or cognitive disabilities. So it's taking it that one step further. So do you see how we're, again, kind of moving even tighter down the funnel? After we go for brainstorming, we decide music therapy is what I want to talk about, then we get more specific, till we have that central theme. If you turn the page to page 84, okay, it gives you some tips for formulating that. Now, I find it helpful to share these ideas. I know you can read the book on your own, obviously, but having these different examples is going to give you, what to do versus what not to do. So, for example, here it says, you want to write the purpose statement as a full infinitive phrase, not as a fragment. So, ineffective would be 3D technology. More effective, to inform my audience about the 3 major kinds of current 3D technology. Okay? So, very simple. Has that number there. You don't have to have a number, but it lets your audience better prepare for what it is you're going to be speaking about. Another ineffective statement. Okay? It needs to be a statement, not a question. What is Dia de los Muertos? Hopefully I pronounced that right. More effective, to inform my audience about the history of Mexico's Dia de los Muertos celebration. So again, that statement, not a question. You want to avoid using figurative language in your purpose statement. So an ineffective example would be to persuade my audience that the campus policy on student parking really stinks. So figurative language, again, is that subjective. Okay, what does that mean it really stinks? Does that mean there's not enough of it? Does that mean that it's too expensive? We don't know. It's just like using swear words. You won't hear me swear. I won't say ever because you never say never, but I couldn't tell you the last time I swore. Part of that, other than it being inappropriate in most situations, is the fact that I had a high school writing teacher that told me people use swear words when they can't think of anything better to say. So if you're educated and intelligent, it's probably not the best thing to do because after all, what does it mean? If you're going to say a swear, cold as blank, hot as blank, it just means that you can't think of anything better to describe your feelings as. So this figurative language is the same thing. You have to be specific. What do you mean it stinks? So here's a more effective statement. To persuade my audience that the campus policy on student parking should be revised to provide more spaces for students before 5 p.m. Very specific in what you're trying to accomplish. Okay? The other thing I want you to make sure of, and we talked about this a little bit in Chapter 4, was making sure you have one concrete idea. Now, you can have those multiple supporting points in your body, right? But you want to have one main idea. And in so much as that, okay, you want to make sure that you don't try to cram too much into that statement. So an ineffective version would be to persuade my audience to become literacy tutors and to donate time to the Special Olympics. 2 separate things, literacy tutors and donate time to Special Olympics. You can't do all that in one. So you could either have, for example, to persuade my audience to become literacy tutors or to persuade my audience to donate time to the Special Olympics. Make sure to keep it separate, right? So always working, we have our introduction here, right? If we were to look this way, introduction, working to the central theme, building back out to the conclusion. That's going to wrap up nicely, right? So that's very key to have that. I'll let you read through the rest of those yourself, but making sure that that purpose is clear, your specific purpose and your general purpose. Now, when we come to the central idea, okay, the central idea is that one sentence that sums up or encapsulates the major idea of a speech. What is that key statement? You heard me give a lot of examples of this in class. So it's the 3 best ways to save $20 today. Or I'm going to share with you the 4 necessary ingredients to create an authentic taco. Right? What is it, that one thing? Again, we talked about it in that Michael Hyatt post about what is it, that key statement that you want people to walk away with, to remember. Okay? We call that the residual message. What is it that a speaker wants the audience to remember, okay, after it's forgotten everything else about the speech? So if you walk out the door after the speech is done, what's the one thing you want people in the audience to remember? And it's up to you to communicate that. Now, people may hear things differently. People may take more than that away from it. But again, if nothing else, there needs to be that one key message that people walk away with. So let's continue on this music therapy example here. So the topic, again, was music therapy. The general purpose was to inform, right? The specific purpose was to inform my audience about the benefits of music therapy for people with psychological or cognitive disabilities, okay? So that imperative statement. Now here's the central idea, that full sentence. Music therapy developed as a formal mode of treatment during the 20th century, utilizes a number of methods, and is explained by several theories that account for its success. So you have those different ideas. It answers that kind of who, what, when, where, why, right? It provides that formula for what you're going to be speaking it about. It gives your audience that roadmap for what they can expect to hear as you proceed to give your speech. Guidelines for your central idea. Here's some ineffective examples. Paying college athletes a monthly salary is a good idea. Problems of fad diets. What are nanorobots? Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula is an awesome place for a vacation. Those are all ineffective examples. More effective. Because college athletes in revenue-producing sports such as football and basketball generate millions of dollars in revenue for their school, the NCAA should allow such athletes to receive a $300 monthly salary as part of their scholarship. So, again, you're stating your purpose, your specific purpose, but then also offering that solution, what it is that you're going to be talking about, what is it that you're going to be proving or persuading, right? You're going that step further to reinforce, to refine, and to really sharpen that purpose statement, okay? So it's that concise idea, it's that concise statement. Think of it as your thesis statement. When you're writing, you may have heard, you've had to come up with a thesis statement for your papers. It's that same idea for your speech, okay? There are 4 criteria that a good central idea meets. Okay? First of all, it's expressed in a full sentence. It is not expressed in the form of a question. It avoids figurative language, and it's not too vague or too general. So, expressed in a full sentence, not a question, avoids figurative language, and it's not too vague or general. So those are your 4 ideas there for coming up with your central theme, your key statement, whatever it may be. So when we're looking at being able to refine our topic here, we want to make sure that we're looking at everything in perspective. So to select a topic and a purpose, we already talked about making sure that you're passionate about it, okay? And even if you haven't been to a place, or even if you haven't actually done what it is you're talking about, have you researched it? Are you knowledgeable about it? Do you have some sense of credibility that you can share that gives your audience a reason to continue to listen to you? Has your father done that? Has your friend done something? Have you watched all 5 seasons of whatever actor it is that you're talking about? So what is it that's going to lend that credibility as you pick your topic and your purpose? Now, again, make sure that it's really well refined. So are you going to talk about the importance of eating healthy? Today I'm going to give you 5 reasons why it's important to eat healthy. Well, you could go all over the map with that. It's a very broad statement. Versus, today I'm going to talk to you about the 3 reasons why eating breakfast is critical to weight loss. Okay? So do you see the difference of really refining, really coming in to your topic? Because what you're going to have to do as you get to your central theme is really narrow that objective, right? And then you're going to be able to give your rationale, use your resources to support that central theme. But it's important that you don't go too broad. So of course, start with a topic that's interesting to you, hopefully that you know something about or that you're willing to learn more about and research about, and then figure out what it is that you want to communicate. What is it that you absolutely have to tell people about this that either they didn't know before, that there may be a misconception about, that you can give, again, your own unique twist on so that people walk away better for being in your presence and hearing you speak. So, last time I told you about having 3 potential topics that I wanted you to turn in. Now I want you to pick one of those topics, and we already know that your general purpose is to inform, but I want you to really narrow it down, okay? So narrow it down into what topic is it that you think you want to focus on for that informative speech. Pick just one, and then I want you to go ahead and write out those things we talked about. I want you to go ahead and write that specific purpose. You know, your general purpose is to inform, write your specific purpose, and then a central theme around that. And if you want to write out a couple, we'll go over those in class, and that's fine. But again, just like we did with the dot exercise on the board, get your pen going, get your pencil going, get those ideas out. If you're better in the car, chalk some notes into your phone, but get the ideas out. The first idea isn't always the best idea, but it has to come out of your head in order for us to react to it. So you've already done your 3 potential topic ideas. Now pick one, and we want to start refining it, okay? I'm going to have you submit that to me via Blackboard, and I will see you in our next class. Thanks.